Hi, it's John, and welcome to the channel. 5:51 a.m. Sunday, July the 13th. I've got the big blue mug of coffee. Hope you're having a great start to your Sunday morning, and I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Hope the weather is good wherever you may be. It's been very nice here. Saturday was an outstanding day as we wrap up the Calgary Stampede here with its final weekend. I have not been. I don't go to the Stampede. I think I've mentioned that here before. Don't go. Haven't been in years. You know what? It's strange because I think of the Calgary Stampede much like I think of the small fairs I used to go to when I lived in Sarnia, Ontario. That's my hometown. I used to go to the Brigden Fair. The Calgary Stampede is an awful lot like the Brigden Fair, but it's much bigger and there's less mud. I guess that's you get to go out and see cows. I can only look at so many cows. They have some rides. I don't like rides. I don't like fatty foods, and I don't drink. It's kind of a prerequisite to go to the Calgary Stampede and be a drinker. I haven't been a drinker in almost 30 years now. And to get staggeringly drunk is kind of one of those things people do at the Stampede. I'm not judging you if you want to do that, but haven't gone to the Stampede this year. And I'll be glad when it's over. I really will, because it messes up my bike riding down by the Stampede grounds over by the Saddle Dome, just off the Elbow River. So today I wanted to follow up on a couple of things that I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks or so. Jagmeet Singh. Let's talk about Jugs. Jugs is back in the news with this tweet right here you can see. I looked back this morning to find out the date of a video I did, which was one of the biggest videos I've ever done here. On December 21st, I did a video called Jagmeet Singh is the biggest piece of shit in Canadian political history. It was a little over 5 minutes long. More than 100,000 people have watched that video. It's rather out of date now, but the 21st of December was the day after Singh pulled his support for the Liberal Party. Now, you have to remember, I think it was the 19th, a couple of days earlier, government went on vacation for Christmas. So it meant nothing. Poilievre was pissed. I think he wrote a letter to the Governor General or something about this. But Singh pulled his support for the Liberal government when it meant absolutely nothing at all. He was 2 months out from getting his pension of $2.3 million. So I did this video, and I was so freaking mad at this point. I mentioned how most Canadians work their whole lives to get nothing from the Canada Pension Plan. That's why I want an Alberta pension plan. We get nothing, folks. And I think I went on to say that most people won't be able to afford dog food to eat when they actually get their Canada Pension Plan. Meanwhile, Singh works for 6 years and he gets $2.3 million. So Singh comes out with this tweet here, and this is indicative of what the left thinks. So the other day, I played that video of Poilievre walking in downtown Calgary. He was here for the Stampede, talking about how the Liberals had this EV mandate. And folks, within 10 years, if you live in Canada, you will not be able to choose the car you want to drive. You will have to buy an EV, according to Mark Carney and the Liberal Party. Now, if you live in Alberta, when we separate and we're independent, you'll be able to drive whatever you want, because we believe you should have a choice, as does Pierre Poilievre. And that's what he meant by doing the video. You can go back and watch the video I did on this the other day. But this is what Singh writes. The Rolls-Royce revolutionary is coming for your EVs. And this is what the left believes, because they're brainwashed. Automatons. They think Poilievre is going to take away your choice for EVs, and that's not what he's doing. See, the left is all about choice until it gets in the way of their worldview. Poilievre wants you to have choice. It's the Liberals and the left that don't. Poilievre wants you to be able to choose the car you want, not take away your choice to drive an EV. If you want to drive an EV, that's up to you. I don't want one. I can't afford one. And I also don't want to pay for rich people to be able to buy them with subsidies from the government, and that's coming from the Liberals. But this is Jagmeet Singh, the biggest piece of shit in Canadian political history, trying to remain relevant, and he's irrelevant. One of the biggest losers in political history in Canada as well. So let's go on with Pierre Poilievre. He's back in the news as well. Did an interview the other day. They asked him about immigration, and I think his answer was terrific. But my question to Mr. Poilievre is, why didn't you say this during the election campaign?
Look, there are growing problems that the government hasn't addressed. The out-of-control immigration, which continues to grow our population faster than there are homes, jobs, and healthcare to provide. We need to have more people leaving than coming for several years, while our housing market, our job market, and our healthcare system catches up.
Why weren't you talking like this during the election campaign, Pierre? He's basically talking about negative immigration. We need to get people to leave before we bring more in. It drives up the prices. He's absolutely right. You have a limited supply of houses. You have too many people looking for houses. The prices go up. The same thing with our healthcare system. You know, people in Alberta blame Danielle Smith for our problems with our healthcare system. How's it her fault? We have too many people here. More people come to Alberta than anywhere else because we're the best. The West is the best. Alberta's the best. I said ages ago that we should have a sign on the Saskatchewan border for the people who are driving in with all their stuff from the east and have a big sign up saying, stay the fuck away, we're full. Got too many people in Calgary now. And are we bringing in the right people? I don't think so. But I move on from that. So Pierre talking a little bit about why he lost his campaign in Carleton, being quite truthful about that as well. We'll follow up on that in just a moment with the guy who beat him and what the public service is now talking about when it comes to the Carney government. Here's why Pierre Poilievre lost in his riding of Carleton.
How do you make sense of the 4,513 votes that you lost by in your riding?
Well, the reality is it's a riding that is over. It was very simple. I was very clear that we would be cutting the federal bureaucracy if I was prime minister. And it was an Ottawa riding with a lot of federal public servants who disagreed with that approach. And they ran a very aggressive campaign, particularly the public sector unions did, to defeat me on that basis. Now, some people might say, well, it wasn't the best idea to run on a smaller federal public service when you're an Ottawa MP, but I had an entire country to represent, and I had to be honest with people. Like, I guess I could have done what the Liberals did, which is hide their plans. But I didn't do that. I said very clearly, we're going to have to eliminate federal public service jobs. That's the only way you bring down taxes and deficits.
Poilievre is right. The union ran ads against him so he wouldn't win in his own riding of Carleton. Here's one of the ads right here from PSAC. Pierre Poilievre against Workers Against Canada. Look at that. Sponsored, paid for by PSAC. No, actually, that's paid for by the Canadian taxpayer. This is why public servants should not be in unions. So you pay the public servants so they can pay union dues to PSAC to run ads against the guy you wanted to win in the election campaign. One of the reasons why public servants should not be in unions. Just one of the reasons, and there's a lot of them. Meanwhile, now we've got the public sector union going against Carney because he says he's going to cut jobs. I said the other day in my video, is cutting a few jobs going to do anything when you've hired 40% more? In the 10 years Trudeau was the prime minister, 100,000 more people. Public sector union warns Carney against reducing government staff to cut spending. What it actually means is that you're looking to cut jobs, which means cutting services, says the head of PSAC, Sharon D'Souza. Have the services you've been given through the federal government gotten better or worse since they hired the extra 100,000 people? I think most people would say worse. They certainly haven't gotten better. You'd think they would. There's far too many public servants working for the federal government here. Meanwhile, the Liberals lied about what they were going to do because I think they knew prior to the election on April 28th, they were going to have to cut some jobs. The people you hire are the most expensive part of your budget. Had to get rid of some of them. The guy who beat Poilievre was lying about it prior to the election.
But Pierre, much like Donald Trump, shows utter disdain for public servants. He's promising Trump-style cuts to the public sector, which would lead to 100,000 jobs lost. These cuts will put Carleton residents, his own constituents, out of work at a time when we need them most.
You can't spell liberal without L-I-N-E. Poilievre truthful about what he was going to do when it came to employees. Fanjoy and the Liberals, I think they lied about it, used it against Poilievre, and they win. Meanwhile, you've got Poilievre running for a by-election here. The left hates him for some reason. I don't know why. I think the guy's got guts. I think what happened to him in the election a few months ago, he was a majority leader of the government, a majority prime minister, and now he's got no seat. I think the guy's got cojones. I hope he wins. I don't think his government, if he becomes the prime minister, will be much better for Alberta. I'd like to keep all our money here. I want independence. But I think the guy has guts. But the left losing their minds, crying over the fact that there's a by-election. It costs taxpayers money to run a by-election. I get it. But they don't give a damn about Carney's $92 billion deficit, so cry river. National Post finally catching on to what Carney's up to here, saying that he needs a chainsaw, not a scalpel, when it comes to cutting government. They bring up the fact that he's got two budgets. I mentioned it the other day. The operational budget, which he says he's going to balance, then blow the lid off the capital budget. The graphic again, $92 billion this year, $77 billion, $77 billion, $77 billion, $77 billion over the next 4 years. Mark Carney's not listening. Just the other day, he tweets this out with the same buzzwords he used prior to the election, which I warned you about. Spend less as a government and invest more. Investing is spending, and it's spending a lot of your money. Meanwhile, I just want to follow up on a video I did about a week or so ago regarding this other referendum we may have because of former Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk. Why was Thomas Lukaszuk's application accepted? I wrote the Chief Electoral Officer of Alberta to find out. I have heard nothing as of yet. And I will let you know if I hear anything about that. I'm not holding my breath. Thanks so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Kind of a little bit of everything today, but that's how you get inspired when you get up at 3:30 in the morning. I wanted to follow up on a few things as well. I hope you have a great Sunday. Hope you have a great work week if you have to go to work. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. I will see you in the next one.